we talked about Nehemiah's political background. We talked about that Judah was taken over by Babylon, the walls, the temple, and Jerusalem in general was destroyed. Then we said the king and the able people were deported to Judah. They were deported to where? To Babylon. And when they went to Babylon, Babylon was conquered by Persia. So Persia conquered Babylon. So the Persian king ruled through governors. And everyone had to pay taxes to Persia. So Persian king, who is called King Cyrus, allowed Jews to return. And I told you they returned in 3 stages. The first group was led by Joshua, who was a high priest, and Sheshbazzar, who was the first governor of Judah. The second group by Ezra the priest, and the third and the last group by Nehemiah, who was given the power by the king, and he was also the governor. He was given the power by the king to be the governor. We also talked about social background. We said that the people who had remained in Judah had foreign influence. And they intermarried with foreigners. So they brought forth Samaritans. So there was a lot of hostility between the Jews, who are the Israelites, and the Samaritans. When we were also talking about the social background, we said that the wealth and the powerful oppressed the poor. They sold the poor to slavery if they didn't pay their debts. So Nehemiah was angry with the wealthy. He told them to return the property of the poor to them, and also to make donations to the poor. We also talked about religious background. We said that in exile, that is in Babylon, the Jews practiced their religion. They were allowed by the king to practice their religion. When they returned back to Judah, they built an altar. Remember that the Jerusalem temple was destroyed, so they built altars. They later reconstructed the wall, the temple, despite the hostility. And here in the religious background is whereby the wall, I told you the wall was rebuilt in how many days? 52 days under the leadership of Nehemiah. So Jerusalem became again the center of worship. We also talked about historical life of Nehemiah. I told you Nehemiah was one of the Jews who were in exile. And I told you Nehemiah means who Yahweh has comforted. Nehemiah was son of Ekaliah of Judah. And Nehemiah was also a prophet. And I told you his work, he was a cupbearer to the king. So he tasted wine given to the king. And as he was doing his work, he received information from the Jews who had got back to Judah that they were suffering. So he went and sought permission from King Artaxerxes to go back to rebuild the wall. He asked him so that he can go back and rebuild the wall. So the king told him to go back and also appointed him as a governor of Judah. That is where we were before, in the last lesson, that's the recap. So today we are going to talk about the occasions when Nehemiah prayed.